Moscow is currently holding the rotating presidency of the United Nations Security Council. Despite Ukraine urging members to block the move, Russia has now taken the position despite its ongoing war in Ukraine. So the question is, what does it mean for UN? And can the United Nations still play a role its founders had hoped for in seeking world peace? To talk about this, we have with us Olena Trigop, who is the Executive Director of the Independent Defense Anti-Corruption Commission, NACO, and is joining us live from Kiev. Thank you so much for joining us, Ms. Olena.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Right. Now, let's just get this straight. A country in the act of fighting a war in Ukraine that has killed thousands of people is now in charge of an organization that was basically set up to promote peace and security. Isn't this whole situation really absurd at the moment?
It is absolutely absurd, you are right. And their saddest thing is that Russia, of course, enjoys its because Russia demonstrated so many times that they despise all the institutions that were created as a result of the Second World War, of the current world order. And right now, by being able to chair the Security Council of the UN, for them, it's like a perfect moment to show this despise, to show how actually absurd is the situation we're in. But we should, instead of believing in Russia's claims that the whole world is absurd and the world order is not possible, we should just use this opportunity now and listen to voices of those many countries in the world, smaller countries, that were saying that we need to reform United Nations and we need to make it more fair, more balanced. And the fact that it's happening now, when a smaller country, Ukraine, is being invaded in a genocidal war by a big country who's the member of Security Council, and we cannot do anything about it. And moreover, the invader is chairing the Security Council. It just shows to the whole world now that UN reform is urgent. We need to do something. We need to unite efforts all over the world.
Right, absolutely. Also, the topic of the UNSC meet, which was held yesterday, was maintenance of international peace and security. But there was also a lot of blame game that happened during the session, with Antonio Guterres clearly emphasizing on how the Ukraine invasion has caused massive destruction, while Lavrov warning of global risks. How do you assess these statements?
Well, you know, Lavrov warning about global risks is the typical Russian tactics when they speak about big problems in the world, and they are basically using this problem just for their advantage, and they are increasing these problems. For example, global world hunger. We know very well that it's a huge problem for UN, for the world, and Russia is the source of this problem because they created war. They are blocking Ukrainian exports, Ukrainian seaports. One of examples, you know, and proliferation of nuclear weapons, conflict, all these global problems that Russia is warning about are created by them, which is another example of basically absurdity.
Right, Ms. Olena, just to add to that, just a few days ago, Russia also is planning to walk out of the Black Sea grain deal. What does that actually mean for global hunger in today's time?
Well, we should not let this happen because I want to reiterate that Russia was trying to get out from the deal for several months already, and they were looking for opportunities because for Russia, they want this global world hunger to increase because they think that the bigger turmoil they put the world in is the better for them, because Russia tries to basically disrupt right now the world in order to gain something for themselves, to gain new territory, to gain their maintenance, long-time maintenance for the authoritarian regime which they have in Russia. So it's very bad, and the world should understand what Russia is doing and put efforts. Turkey should step in again more forcefully, in my opinion.
Right, talking about the UNSC session, there was no walkout or protest that was witnessed during the session. Now, does that mean that some countries have accepted Russia as the Ukraine invasion crosses the one-year mark?
Well, it means that, it just shows that the current setup of UN is absolutely powerless, and countries kind of accepted it. And, after the beginning of the invasion, the United Nations, the Security Council, they were able to adopt some resolution. The General Assembly was able to adopt resolutions condemning the invasion, the occupation, the annexation. But what did it change? How did it influence? Nothing. The result is nothing. Russia maintains its invasion, genocidal war, kills people, takes territories, and so on. So basically, I think that some countries, they just accepted the idea that in the current setting, they cannot do anything. And unfortunately, they don't work with each other because of this polarization that Russia is trying to create in order to stop this global problem that Russia is now creating.
Right. Tell us more about the establishment of the Security Council. Why was it set up? And why only those 5 countries in particular?
Well, they were essentially the countries who won over, like Hitler Germany, and especially and the countries who were now leaders in the world, who were supposed to guarantee the global peace. And the idea was that after Hitler's attempt of invasion, we will not have anything repeated like this. At the same time now, not only that Russia is exactly repeating what Hitler doing by aggressively invading and killing massively people, but the scale of it actually is much bigger. The number of tanks that, for example, Hitler had prepared to invade the whole Europe was smaller than the current number of tanks that Russia has used in Ukraine. So it's a huge, massive war they are waging, and it shows that the whole idea now of Security Council failed, because one of the countries became basically even worse than Hitler Germany.
Absolutely. In your viewpoint, do you think that a platform has allowed Russia to play and also present itself as a legitimate world player to Russians back home, especially with Russia now chairing the UNSC meet?
Absolutely. You are right about that. This fact that Russia is now chairing Council shows to Russian that their regime is still not a pariah state. It's not excluded from the world, and it's very bad. And basically, what I wanted to say is that Russia should be excluded from UN in general, and Ukraine. We have dispute in Ukraine between states that were successors of USSR. Ukraine was the founding member of UN, and the way Russia got the seat on Security Council from the legal perspective is not fully legitimate. And so this should be questioned right now.
Right. Thank you so much, Olena, for joining us on WION and sharing your insights with us. Thanks very much.
Thank you for having me.